Welcome to the Epic Vision Zone. I'm so excited to introduce today's guest. As a behavioral superpower coach, business consultant, public speaker, motivational educator, entrepreneurial development instructor, and an accredited business DNA behavioral consultant, she is a woman who is truly embracing her superpowers. She is the founder of Freedom Empire Consulting, where they coach, influence, and protect clients around the world. She also serves as the Director of Strategic Partnerships and Community Engagement for DreamSmart Academy and serves on the National Advisory Council for DreamSmart, a nonprofit organization. An enthusiastic professional with over 25 years of educational leadership in post-secondary education, she is both a creative and an analytical thinker. With a master's degree in management and a Bachelor of Science degree in computer information systems, she has an unshakable commitment to helping all those around her flourish throughout their personal, professional, and educational journeys. An avid supporter of entrepreneurial and family safety, as a small business and group benefits specialist for Legal Shield, she offers protection to families and small business owners by providing access to quality, affordable legal service plans, along with identity theft protection and restoration services. Through her nationwide brokerage, she coaches others to build their own Legal Shield businesses while transferring her enthusiasm for education into a passion for teaching others about resources and opportunities to help them worry less and live more. A devoted volunteer and an advocate for social justice and empowering women, she gives back to the community by volunteering as the MC for Girls Rock Phoenix, a workshop facilitator at Fresh Start Women's Foundation and Dress for Success, a mentor to Young Entrepreneurs Academy, and a contributor to the Central Arizona Shelter Services. She is also a community ambassador for the Junior League of Phoenix and was recently awarded Community Ambassador of the Year, as well as having served for many years as the Vice President and Membership Director of the 7th Avenue Merchants Association. A multifaceted musician who enjoys hiking, travel, reading live music, art, karaoke. She loves spending time with family, friends, and her beloved Rottweiler. Welcome, Kenyatta Turner.
Hello.
Is that exhausting or what?
Yeah. I think I need a nap.
I get it all the time. Everybody goes, wow, I'm exhausted. I said, well, it's all you. It's really interesting how we don't reflect on all of what we have accomplished. And sometimes it takes someone else to bring that to the forefront to think, yeah, I've done all right.
I've been a few places.
Yeah,
I know some people.
Exactly.
Right.
Well, you went from a leadership position in post-secondary education to becoming a full-fledged entrepreneur. And what was your key driving force to becoming an entrepreneur?
Well, actually, that is an easy question to answer. So first, Jane, thank you for having me here. I am so excited to do this interview with you. I just adore you. So
thank you.
This
Likewise.
is a lot of fun. Yeah, a lot of fun to have this conversation. So my father passed away when he was 39. Mm-hmm. I was 16. And to a 16-year-old, 39 seems old. Mm-hmm. Okay, he was my dad. He was old, right? Well, how it wound up happening is I actually never really thought I would make it to 39. It seemed so far away. I thought I wouldn't even live that long. Well, I have. And when I was approaching that age, I had already worked almost 20 years in education. Mm-hmm. Loved what I did, but I was working 60, 70, 80 hours a week, building other people's empires. That's how I thought of it. But I loved it. But as I approached the age of 39, I actually took a few days off. I got some days off. And I did a lot of thinking, soul searching, reflecting just over this period of time, really about my dad. Mm-hmm. And the fact that I was about to turn 39. And it was a moment of clarity for me where I realized that there was things I wish I could have asked him about, just what would have become of him if he'd had more time. what would he have done? Where would he have moved? You know, I lived with him at the time when he passed. So like, would we have moved somewhere else? Would we have traveled? Would we, you know, would he have changed jobs? Like all these things, you know, was he happy doing what he was doing? All these questions I was really curious about, and the finality of the situation that he was no longer here, he never had a chance to do anything else.
Mm-hmm.
But I didn't know what he would do if he did have the chance. So for me, I turned those same questions on myself, quite honestly, and said, here you are, Kenyatta, about to turn 39. You didn't think you were going to make it, but here you are, and you feel like a baby, like you feel like a child. 39 is not old, by the way, for those of you out there listening who think it is, you know. But so I really just realized that, wow, you have your whole life ahead of you if you're allowed that. And you don't know what's coming, but you know what? If you're going to wind up living even a day longer than him, a year longer than him, then all that to me now is extra. Okay. Mm-hmm. Extra, meaning I now have what he did not get. Mm-hmm. And so since I felt like I was blessed with that, and I was obviously continuously blessed with it, then I wasn't going to squander it. Right. And so I asked myself, are you happy doing what you're doing? Are you living your purpose? Is this where you're supposed to be the next 20 years? And if it isn't, then you better figure it out, because I looked up and 20 years had gone by in a flash, you know, working at colleges. I mean, it went by so quick. So that's really what it was. That was the catalyst, I guess, if you will, where I realized, you know, I have extra. Yeah. So what are you going to do with it? What are you going to do with it? It's
often experiences and things like that that make us realize that life really is a gift. Yes. And it's so wonderful that you saw that, and that you decided to do something with it as opposed to just sit on it. But you're right. It is, circumstances sometimes happen to us for a reason, and that you reflected on that, and that's really what sets you apart. And I think that's what's driven you for most of your entrepreneurial life so far. At least that's what I feel.
It was because I realized that I couldn't answer those questions. Mm-hmm. When I asked myself, am I happy doing what I'm doing? Mm-hmm. Is this really all is this all I'm capable of? Mm. That's what I started asking myself. Like, are you going to travel? Are you going to go around the world? Are you going to, you know, what are you going to do? Right. And I wasn't really sure. And the fact that I was questioning it
was enough
for me to go, wait, there's more out there for me. And I'm not going to sit here and let that be out there while I'm in here, you know, kind of thing. And so that's really what it was. And I realized I wanted to start a business like that. I wanted freedom.
Right.
I was working 80 hours a week for somebody else. I loved what I did. But once that idea got in my head, I couldn't even physically be in the building anymore. And it caused me to do something that I wouldn't recommend most people do. But I just left.
But look where you are today. So what were some of the fears then that you faced when you ventured out and you wanted to do something on your own? And how did you overcome them?
Yeah. Well, I realized what I feared most was waking up 20 years later and still sitting at that desk. Because I thought that I had already built my career in a very methodical way, and I was doing exactly what I wanted to do. And I realized that my next step would have been a step that could very well have landed me there another 20 years, which would have been a campus president. Really, I was gearing up and had been building my career to really have my own campus, to be at that level in the organization, which meant, in my opinion, someone was going to try to figure out how to squeeze another couple hours a week out of me. And, and literally I would never really be able to get out then. So, and they were going to, you know, probably throw a bunch more money at me, which would make it harder for me to leave. Right. So the fear that I had the most was waking up and still being there.
Okay. So that fear was greater than the fear of making the change.
Yes. That scared me more. So I realized, okay, Kenyatta, you got to get out of here, because you can't do this anymore. Like, your body, your physical being will not allow it. Yes. So if you stay here and force yourself, then again, you're not taking advantage of this extra time you've been given. So do what you need to do, jump off the cliff and see what happens. But because you can very well wind up here and be complacent. in
Right.
that, and be comfortable in that.
Right.
And I was prepared to be uncomfortable in order to find what I was built to do in the next phase of my life. So,
Right.
so
So
I overcame it just by handing in my resignation letter.
yes.
That's
And
how I just like, here, take this, and I got to go. 'Cause
I gotta leave now.
I got to go right now. You know, I mean, it was a very quick process after I made that decision,
Right.
because I feared that if I didn't do it, then it'd be harder for me to do it.
Exactly.
And then once I had the vision, I had the other things that came with it that made it possible for me to just hand in that resignation letter and take a really big risk. I say I jumped off a cliff, but I sprouted wings. And
Oh, I love that.
that's what I did. And so I overcame the fear by just doing the thing.
Right.
You know?
So sometimes we have to take the leap and trust that the wings will be there to lift us.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
that's beautiful. So you've told me a story of how, because when you left, you said that you were still kind of in a basically struggling with what it was, what your purpose was and what you were going to do. And you told me a beautiful story about your mom and how she helped you when you were wondering what was next. So share that story with our audience and how she helped you with your transition.
Yeah. So my mom, oh my God, I love her so much. My mom has always been an entrepreneur as long as I can remember. I think she started in Mary Kay when I was a year old, right?
So it's in your blood.
Yeah. So, and it's interesting. I saw two very different paths growing up. And I think this is where some of the story comes into play, because my mother had always been an entrepreneur, always had her own business and ran her own things, had a freedom of her schedule and everything. So I saw this one side of what it's like to make money, right? And then my dad, you know, he was an electronic engineer. You know, he went to one of the schools I worked at. He had what I call a jobby job. He had a job, you know, and he, you know, went to school, worked for someone else and did that thing. So I saw these two very different scenarios happening. And I felt like I followed in my father's footsteps first, the first portion of that, right? So my mom, when I decided I was leaving, you know, gonna leave, and go build my empire, whatever that meant, because I had no idea what I was going to do, by the way, no idea. I'd already quit. And no, before I quit, I called up my mom and said, hey, Mom, I think about quitting my job. I think I want to start a business. And, you know, I don't know, it sounds crazy. And she said, it's about time.
I love it.
And I'm like, huh. She's like, well, I was wondering when you were going to figure that out. You know, she's like, I've just been waiting for you to figure it out. And I'm like, all right. So, you know, so obviously I had a lot of support there. You know, she saw within me things I had not yet really saw within myself. Right.
But the thing is that she let you realize them. She didn't push you. She let you come to that conclusion herself.
Yeah. All by myself.
Smart lady.
You know, she just let me do my thing, you know? And so then it was a couple weeks after, about 6 weeks or so, 5 weeks after I quit. And it actually, because June is when I started legal. So 6 years, this was 6 years ago this month. And so anyway, she calls me up one day and she goes, hey, Kenyatta, you know, it's Monday. You don't have a job. And, you know, I'm going to lunch with, you know, these women. You should come to lunch with me and, you know, meet some women. And I was like, wait a minute, what meeting? That meeting you've been going to for 15 years, you know, a bunch of ladies hanging out, eating lunch, you know, why would I go to that? Well, it was a networking meeting. Okay. I didn't know that because I never went. I had a job. I wasn't networking. Right. And so, then after I quit my job, I woke up some mornings all excited and I woke up other mornings in tears going, what the hell did you just do?
Right.
What did you just do? Right. So this was a good morning. She called me. I was feeling good. I was like, you know, I'm not doing nothing. I'm sure I'll go to lunch in the middle of the day on a Monday. Right. And she goes, well, Kenyatta, that meeting I go to, those women are business owners. And the meeting is called WISC, Women I Should Know. Okay.
Oh, I love
it. And she goes, those are all business owners. And we sit around and talk about business and we do business together. And I was like, well, that's interesting. I'll go. So we go. And I stand up, everyone, you know, if you've been to a networking meeting, those of you who are listening, you know what happens. Everyone stands up and you have an opportunity to do your 30-second about what you do. And I stood up and I said, hey, I just quit my job of 20 plus years. I have no idea what I'm going to do, but I have some cool vintage stuff that I love that I'm probably going to open up like a eBay or Etsy store. Cause that's a thing these days, right? Anyone have any ideas for me? So that's how I started. And someone did have an idea for me. Her name was Donna Sparacco. I love her to death. She came up to me and was like, what did you just say? I said, I don't know. So she actually was the one who introduced me to Legal Shield. And here it is 6 years later, you know, and I'm an independent associate with them. I fell in love with the company for many reasons, but I fell in love with Donna, actually. I liked her. I was like, I like you. You're fun. Let's talk.
Yes.
And so, you know, that's how we woke up here today, 6 years later, you know, but my mom took me to that networking meeting, my first, and now I frequent them.
Yeah. Now she was like your mentor almost.
Yeah, she was. And my mom inspired me because, again, she'd done it. So she knew what I was going through and what I was about to go through. And she offered plenty of guidance and support. My family did anyway, but she was definitely an inspirational force there for sure.
Right. So it was good to know that it wasn't just all peaches and roses, because you said some days you'd wake up crying and others you'd wake up happy. Because a lot of people think, well, I'm going to be an entrepreneur now, and how wonderful is that? And then the reality hits them, and it's like, it can be very lonely at times.
Yeah.
You know,
yeah.
at the best
it was horrifying. It was horrifying.
Yeah.
But I was more afraid of
Right.
I was more afraid of squandering, again, this extra time I had. I was afraid of not living it to the fullest. And that meant if I had to live out of my car, I was ready to do it.
Right. Right. I don't think your mom would let you, but it's a good thought anyway.
Yeah, I mean, there were some days it was close.
Yeah, for sure. So what is it like being your own boss?
Oh my God, it's very rewarding, but it's difficult. Everyone wants to be their own boss, but no one wants to boss themselves.
I'm
the same way. I don't want to boss myself. I'm someone who's extremely flexible and spontaneous. So for me, based on my behavioral superpowers, I know where my challenges lie in being my own boss. And so those are things I work diligently on because there's some parts that are very difficult. Creating the self-discipline is difficult. The structure, like you get to make all the decisions and that's great. But then again, you have to make all the decisions. So again, people want to be their own boss, but they don't want to boss themselves.
Yeah.
You have to be both the employee and the boss. And sometimes I'm a good boss. Sometimes I'm a horrible boss. Sometimes I'm a great employee. Other times I should probably be fired, you know? So it's a daily challenge of learning what that's like. And so it's not as glamorous as some might think. So those who are listening, however, none of that really matters. If you truly understand your purpose and your desire, you'll do anything. You'll figure it out. But
that's the core driver.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, what are some of the mistakes you wish you could have avoided? We may have a lot of entrepreneurs or women who have just started their own businesses or thinking of it. And were there some mistakes that really stand out that you might be able to share that they might be able to avoid?
I think probably one of the biggest one for me was gaining financial education. That's huge. That's huge as a business owner, having an understanding of money and how to use it and how not to use it. Paying attention to things that are details that need to be addressed before it's too late. Right? I really think that those are mistakes that I would hope I've learned from them. However, but I think it's always learning. I mean, it really truly is, because there is no one answer for anything. So,
but
you know, I wouldn't even say, I don't even know if I would say they're mistakes, because they were just part of my journey and things I needed to go through to grow through. So
I like that.
You know, I don't know to say they're mistakes. They're part of the process. I mean, they're just really part of the process.
Right. But that was good advice, though, to get someone, if you're don't have an aptitude for finances, to maybe get some help. If you can't afford to pay for it, I know there's a lot of services out there that can help. But yeah, because that is a big one. And especially for women, you know, we tend not to want to address the financials. Not always, but in a lot of cases.
Right.
Yeah. But I do love what you said. You've got to go through to get to, or what did you say?
What is it? I don't know.
You have to go
go through to go through. I don't know. I said something about growing through it. I felt like I grew through.
Go through. Yeah, I love that. That's for me, that's a takeaway, because you're absolutely right. I mean, if we don't experience it for ourselves, we're not going to know.
We're not going to know.
Right. It's all a growing process. So how do you handle as your own boss, entrepreneur, and someone who is out there doing the whole enchilada, getting customers, building your programs, et cetera, et cetera. How do you handle overwhelm, adversity, and doubt? Because I'm sure those come up often.
Sure. Well, the first thing is breathe. Breather. Just breathe. Bring it in, right? That's really my easy go-to to handle, any sort of situations that I might feel that I just need to stop for a moment.
Right.
And meditation, and that falls all into that.
Really. So you do meditate now?
Yeah, yoga, breathing, meditation. Those have saved my life. Clearly,
right.
Those have saved my life. They've pulled me out of a deep, dark hole.
Right.
Those things have. So that's the first and foremost. With what did you mention? Adversity and
doubt and overwhelm.
And overwhelm.
That
okay.
often
So the breathing and the meditate, that helps me with the overwhelm and just stopping and pulling back. Okay. But with my behavioral superpowers, I have to go back to that because it's helped me so profoundly over the last probably 18 months, knowing this certain information about myself. I have a certain propensity for certain things. Right. So adversity to me is a welcome challenge.
Okay.
So I'm someone who loves a challenge. So that's adversity. And so for me, I look at a challenge and I go, what can come out of this? So that's how I've always approached adversity, right? Okay. And so for me, that's not even a big deal. That's like, all right, okay, this thing just broke. Okay, let's figure it out. Let's go.
Right.
I don't spend a lot of time wallowing in the misery of things, I guess, if you will. But I know that's not always the case with everyone. I know that's something unique, to me specifically. That's how I'm wired. Okay. So for me, it's not a big deal. It's like, all right, there's an issue, there's a challenge, let's do. And I always expect it. I don't expect everything to go smooth in the first place, right, because life happens. So when something does happen that's considered an adversity, I look for the opportunity in it. And there's a quote from Think and Grow Rich. Actually, it might be in Outwitting the Devil, but he says, with every adversity, there's an equivalent seed of opportunity.
I love that.
And that's real. Like, that is real for me. That is real. I'm always looking to go, how do we make this better so that we don't have to deal with it again?
So that's a great mindset.
And that's just my mindset. With doubt, I don't spend a lot of time there as well. My mother raised me to be someone who, she always reminded us of our power. She always told us and encouraged us. And, I grew up in a house with affirmations pasted all over the place.
Oh my gosh, I love it.
With personal development books everywhere. And, that was my mother. So
she was way ahead of her time.
Way ahead of her time.
Way.
And so growing up in a household like that, while I didn't always understand, and at times I'm sure I resented, being told when there's a sign on the fridge that says attitude is everything. And I want to show up and be mad about something as a teenager. And she just points at the sign and looks at me like, and I mean, you don't want to hear that as a kid, you want to be mad in the moment. You want to act like a kid, You
want pushback because that makes you mad.
You want pushback. And she'd be like, look, attitude is everything, but come back to me when you have a solution. Right. So growing up like that, doubt and things like that, they are lingering thoughts in my mind. I mean, they're not lingering thoughts. They're fleeting thoughts. They don't last very long. They don't last very long because I'm a results focused person. So I'm like, well, if this doubt is here, how do we resolve this? Now granted, it's not always peaches and cream, and I may be speaking about it as if this is easy to do. No, it is not. But based on who I am and how I'm wired, my behavior style, some things are easier for me than others. I got a whole list of things that aren't that easy, but when it comes to eliminating doubt, dealing with adversity, I go in like, let's go, let's get it done.
Right. And look for the opportunities or possibilities. So I love it. Yeah. Absolutely. Great mindset. So what social media platform do you like the most for expanding your connections and why?
Oh my God, I love LinkedIn. That's
Okay.
my jam.
So
LinkedIn, my jam.
tell us why, because this is something that a lot of us struggle with. You know, they say you should be on Facebook, you should be on Instagram, you should have Twitter and LinkedIn, and you just get so confused. And let's face it, we don't have the time unless you hire someone. And then when you're an entrepreneur, that's money that you could use in your pocket.
Absolutely, absolutely. So LinkedIn is my jam, I think, because I enjoy it. I think that's where it starts. I just have fun, okay, there. And why do I have fun? It's because the people I'm connected with are amazing people.
Mm-hmm.
And the ones who engage and share content are like-minded individuals.
Mm-hmm.
So LinkedIn is a place, for me, it's a social networking platform versus a social media platform.
Oh, that's interesting.
That's kind of how I look at it, because I'm a networker. I'm an outgoing, fast-paced influencer. That is my behavioral superpower. Okay. And we'll get probably into that later, but that's what I am. I love to network. So LinkedIn is really a networking platform. I could go on there. I can go right to the person who I want to talk to. It's very easy to find people. I can just send them a direct message or whatever. They respond, great, and we'll have a conversation. We hop on a Zoom call, and then we can just, it's almost like meeting someone at a local networking event. You go in, you shake a few hands, you talk to a few people, but the people who you want to connect with again, you make a meeting and you have a coffee date or go to lunch, well, or we have a Zoom meeting or a LinkedIn latte, my friend Shelly calls them, you know, and then I get to just network with people, but then I don't have to do what I call beating around the Facebook bush. That's what I call it. Now, people who are on Facebook a lot and have mastered that probably don't view what they're doing as beating around the Facebook bush. I say that because that's what I feel like I have to do when I go to Facebook. So I can't just find a person, get to them, talk to them, and share content with them. On LinkedIn, I can just share content and I can consume their content as well. I go to LinkedIn to learn. And so I watch videos from people who post things that I feel are inspiring and encouraging. And I'm a personal development junkie. And I think LinkedIn is the place where that lives. And so it makes sense for me. And I can talk to people all over the world. And it's so easy. And you post a video. I mean, for those of you, okay, let me message here for those. Here's a tip. LinkedIn has, I think, 650 million people on it. It's crazy. And from what I understand, don't quote me on this, but I think the stat is there's only like 1% of people doing video. So what happens when you do a video on LinkedIn is it literally shoots to the top of everybody's feed, in my opinion, and then their second connection. So I have people watching videos that I'm not even connected to. I don't really think that works that way on other platforms like Instagram and Facebook.
And is there a limit to the length of the video?
To what?
The video, the length
10
of the
minutes.
video. How
10.
10. Okay.
10 minutes. Yeah, 10 minutes.
But that's a long time.
That is a long time, you know? And so you can just post videos. So I really started doing that about just over 2 years ago. Someone challenged me for a campaign called 10 Tip 10 Day Challenge. So if you hashtag 10 Tip 10 Days and put in my name in Google, it's going to boom, come up with all of my videos that I did in 10 Tip 10. It went viral, this whole campaign, this hashtag. So I did that, and it introduced me to people I never would have met if I hadn't done that campaign. That catapulted my LinkedIn network, if you will, because I all of a sudden started getting connected with people who were posting videos, people who were sharing content, people who wanted to do business with me, people who wanted to be friends, whatever. And it just really grew. So it's a place that I enjoy going. And I think just to go back to your question, I enjoy going there. I go there to check in with people who I'm connected with. We share content together. We have conversations there, and we do business there.
It's more like they do market it as a business platform, but it truly is. I mean, I find that the individuals on LinkedIn respond on a more genuine level because it, like you said, it's not just friends chatting, but they're really looking to network and connect with other people.
Absolutely. And it isn't just all business either. I mean, there's cat videos on there too, right? And I just really think it depends on who you're following, you know, like what hashtags you're following and what you're really looking for. So you can really curate your feed with things that are relevant to you. And you can, and here's another thing, I guess, and this is very important. The law of reciprocity is loud and proud on LinkedIn. It's the only platform I really see it working in this way, meaning people enjoy celebrating other people on LinkedIn. I do it all the time, and I do it for the love of it. And if someone reciprocates that in some kind of way, great. I don't expect it, but it seems that that network is built for that. If you want to celebrate people, honor people, showcase individuals, share other people's businesses, congratulate people, that's where you can do that so simply there.
Right.
And then you obviously know, by the power of the universe, you put good stuff out there, good stuff comes back to you.
Come back. Yeah.
And LinkedIn is a place where that happens. And I don't know it works the same way on other platforms like it does on LinkedIn.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Well, that's great. I mean, it's a good business tool. So for any of those of you who are confused and overwhelmed by so many social platforms, maybe just start with LinkedIn and check it out, because it really is very viable, and especially for business.
It is. And I'll add one other thing too. I love LinkedIn so much. I have a hashtag LinkedIn is magical.
Oh, okay.
Check out that hashtag, because I'm always using it, because I really truly believe that. Now, if I say to a grown-up person, LinkedIn is magical, they're like, what are you talking about? Why would you even say that? About what do you know, that's not language people typically use for, like a social media platform that's supposed to be all about business, right? Yeah. But I say that because I believe it, and it indicates that it's more than just what you think it is. And so if someone is interested about looking at a platform like LinkedIn, I encourage you to do that. It's not just a place for resumes anymore.
Right.
But you darn well better be on LinkedIn. Okay.
Right. If you're not on any platform, just be on LinkedIn. If you're on LinkedIn,
because people are looking for you there, whether you know it or not. So, and I teach workshops about it too. So that's later on. But anyway,
wow.
I love it so much. I choose to share what I've learned about it with other people. So.
Well, we'll get into that. But yeah, I'm sure anyone who wants information on LinkedIn, they'll go to one of their biggest cheerleaders, which is you.
LinkedIn.
Yeah, for sure. Well, I wanted to move on to the name of your company, and I love the name. So how did you come up with the idea for your business and the name for it?
Sure. Well, back when I left working in colleges, and I ran every department in a college, that's what I did. I left again to build my empire. That's in my mind what I thought I was doing. Like, I'm leaving to go build my own empire, because I felt that I was building the empires of the students who came to my colleges, helping them build their careers and their family, whatever they wanted. I was there helping build that. The schools I worked for were all for-profit schools. So I was making them a lot of money. Okay. I was good at what I did. And I felt like I was helping them build their empires, the people who own these schools. So I left to go build my own. Now, couple, 6 weeks later, I wound up, becoming an independent associate for Legal Shield. And about 4 years ago, I wanted to name my team. Okay. And I named it, I wanted the word empire in it, because I had left to build my empire. And I felt like Legal Shield was my vehicle to build this empire. I know now it's a wheel on my vehicle. I used to think it was just the vehicle. Okay. So I have a team, and I was naming my team, and one of my teammates is like, well, you want empire, don't just name it empire. She goes, you're always talking about freedom. You're always like freedom this and freedom that. And you want the freedom to do this, and you want freedom to go where you want, she's like, why don't you name it Freedom Empire? And I was like, that's clever. And so I actually wound up naming my team #Freedom Empire. So there's a little hashtag in front of it for my team. So when I was building my behavioral consultancy practice, and I realized that's what needed to happen next, that was the empire I truly had left to build. I was like, well, I already have a name. So Freedom Empire Consulting became the name, because that's part of what I do. I coach, I influence, and I protect. So now that's the umbrella for the business that I build, and Legal Shield is still part of that. That's the protect piece of what I do.
Right. I love it. It suits you. It's who you are. It's definitely, it's got some playfulness to it, and for me, I'm really curious as to what it might be. And the consulting puts the business end into it. So I think it's the whole enchilada.
Yeah. And, and another component, and thank you for that, Jane. Another component is how, because people have asked me, they're like, well, what about empire? Like, what do you mean? What are you over? Why are you trying to control everything.
Oh, really? That's interesting.
I've got a few of that, right? They're like, what are you, the queen of your empire? And I'm like, exactly.
Yes.
I'm like, listen to this. Freedom empire to me is a state of mind.
Mm-hmm.
It's you having the freedom in your mind to do whatever it is that you want to do.
Mm-hmm.
Your empire is your mind. It's your body. It's everything. It's your career. It's your family. It's the world that you get to build.
Right.
And you get to have the freedom to do that in any way you want. Freedom to not oppress yourself and freedom to not allow others to oppress you.
Mm.
So that's what the freedom empire is about. It's a mindset to me. And
Yeah.
so I'm building my freedom empire, and
Right.
I help others do the same thing. That's how I view the name and what I do and why that's so
I
important.
love that. You are your empire.
You are.
And you have, if you believe it, you have the freedom to build your own empire, to create it.
You're calling the shots.
Yeah. Wow, that's really great. You need to put that on your website. I love that story.
I'm glad this is recorded. What did I say?
That is really, that is so insightful. I love that. And it's interesting because I never would have questioned empire, because you and I have a lot in common in our creativity, which,
right.
you know, with the superpowers and all that, but we'll let you explain that as we go along.
Sure.
So speaking of Freedom Empire Consulting,
Mm-hmm.
what's your big picture vision statement for your company?
To do whatever I want, whenever I want, for as long as I want, with whomever I want, wherever I want, and come back when I want.
Okay.
That's it. There's no magic there. That's it. I want freedom. You know?
Right. Well, okay. So your big picture vision would be for individuals and corporations to experience freedom, however that might mean, whatever that might mean to them.
Whatever that might mean to them, you know, and through, you know, and if I could dial in probably a little bit more.
Sure.
Well,
Yeah.
here's the thing. It starts with me.
Right.
Okay. So that's why I said it the way I said it, because it starts with me understanding that about myself and knowing that's what I need, because I can't do anything for anyone else if I don't have that piece clear. Right. So for me, it really is creating the lifestyle that I want, where I can do what I know I'm built to do.
Exactly.
And that is, you know, first and foremost to live my life in such a way where I'm just happy all the time.
Mm-hmm.
Where I just live in joy and I have a peace of mind. And if I can figure that out, then I know that other people can, and I feel morally obligated to help teach others to do that. So when I help companies and organizations or families, an individual, to build their freedom empire, what I know is that they need to protect it as well.
Yes.
And that's really where the protect piece comes in. Because if you build this structure,
right,
you don't have everything aligned, then it could all come crashing down.
Right.
My vision really is to help people get an opportunity to do that and show them that their minds can be like expanded, right? And just take that stuff off and help them see the accountability that they truly have, and then thrive in that. Yes. So I don't have the statement written out in such a clear, concise way, but that's what my mind is telling me.
Right.
I've just been doing that.
It's freedom for fulfillment.
Yeah. Ooh, I like that. For fulfillment. Yeah. That's good.
Yeah. Because
that's why they pay you the big bucks, Jane.
Yeah, sure. That's why they pay me the big bucks. Yeah. So to see a vision to fruition, what top 3 attributes would you recommend for entrepreneurs, and why are they important?
Well, I'm going to give you 3, but the first one is like, there's like 3 in the first one.
Okay.
Like, I think they all tie into each other.
All right.
Desire. And you know, and that's straight from Think and Grow Rich. Desire. Right. But I also would add clarity. I think that comes the desire, you know, through the clarity, you understand the desire, right? And then the last one I would say is self-awareness. I think those 3 are all kind of the same thing: desire, clarity, self-awareness.
Right.
That's one thing, because you don't even move forward if you don't have that. Now you can, like I did when I just jumped off that cliff, but I did have a desire, didn't I?
Yes, you did.
I had a very clear desire. Right. and I was self-aware enough to know that, hey, and here's the thing. Here's what I said my worst case scenario would be. Kenyatta, you have 2 degrees, right? Master's in management and a computer information systems degree. and you have 20 plus years of higher education leadership. Worst case scenario, if this thing that you about to go do, build this empire, you don't even know what it is, doesn't work, go get a job. You should be able to get a job.
Right.
and if I couldn't get a job with 2 degrees and all that experience, then what the heck was all that for anyway?
Right.
If I couldn't just go get a job, right? So I had the clarity in that I knew I was going to go build some kind of empire. I had the desire because I'm like, I will not die on the vine here. I've got extra years and I'm using them. I'm out, you know, and the self-awareness to go, okay, I know who I am. I know what I'm built with. I know the tools I've been given. And I know I'm built for more. I'm capable of so much more to give to this world.
Right.
So I was very self-aware in that. Then, so that's one. And then I would say number 2 is having the faith. And that again is from Think and Grow Rich, right? Then that's the next step. Right. I have to have the faith and the belief in myself. So if you're out there thinking about being an entrepreneur, you've got to have the desire to know what you're even doing and do the hard thinking to figure it out and have the self-awareness to know where you truly are in that moment and what you might be lacking that you need to acquire. Right. That's important. And so those things, then faith. And then the last one, I'm going to pull that one straight from Think and Grow Rich, is auto-suggestion. I believe that you can tell yourself a good thing or a bad thing, and your brain does not know the difference. And so if you are not someone who has positive, you know, self-talk and knows that and understands that thoughts are things, and the stuff you put out there comes right back at you. And so be conscious of what you're telling yourself, like those things right there. I really, and I didn't make that up. I'm just a practitioner of it. Right. Okay. So I know it works because I've done it. And I would have to say that anyone starting out, I'd recommend the same thing. I recommend getting that type of knowledge and awareness and understanding just how powerful beyond measure you truly are when you understand those things, because to discount them could ultimately wind up making it more difficult for you. Yes. And the power of belief, you're right. Because if you have all those, but then you don't believe that you can do it, then that will set you back. That will set you back. It's very important. So as a female entrepreneur, what advice would you give other women looking to start their own business? Other than what I just said? Oh, let's say someone came to you and they said, Kenyatta, you know, I admire what you're doing and I look up to you, and I have a full-time job right now, but I'm thinking of becoming an entrepreneur. What would you tell them? First off, I would remind them of the concept, especially if they're thinking about getting out of what I call the jobby job. Jobs are great, okay? Because they give you money. And if you find something you love that you're passionate about, that's great. But here's what I know and what I've learned about that environment is that oftentimes if you're not in a job that you love, then you may only work just as hard as you need to not get fired. And that person who is the owner will only pay you as much as they need to so you don't quit. So think about that as you think about, why do I want to be an entrepreneur? Like, what is it? See, that's what I wanted. So one of the questions you would ask them first off is why? Yeah. Why? Why do you want to? Why do you want to? Because, you know, you got a paycheck. Why would you do this to yourself? Exactly. You know, so yeah, because if they don't have that fire or that desire or the courage, or the belief, then, you know, maybe. Why? It's not for everyone. It just isn't. And it's not for the faint of heart either. So I would really be like, why? And I would have them start with that whole clarity desire thing and the self-awareness piece. Like I would have to have them start there, woman or man, it doesn't matter. They really need to start in that space to have a clear understanding of why they would even jump off that cliff. Right. Oh, that's great advice. Yeah. That would be my first thing too, is I would ask them why. Yeah. What is it that they feel that they are going to get if they became an entrepreneur? Yeah. Because like you said, a lot of why they want it. Exactly. Because a lot of people see it as, you know, something that's, oh, you're your own boss. You can do whatever you want, you know, and all these fanciful things or beliefs that they have, when it's a lot of really hard work, you know, but if you believe and you really have it in your heart, then you're going to do it. You're going to do it anyway. Yeah. You're going to do it anyway. Like I did.
Right, exactly. Yeah. And you knew you were going to work and you said in your body you couldn't stand it anymore. Well, that was a tipping point for you. And if your desire is there and it's so deep, then you know that they need to make that change, or they're going to make it eventually.
Exactly. Because it's compelling. That vision, it's compelling,
Right.
and it's in your it's in your blood. You
Right.
cannot escape it.
Exactly.
That's the thing I think that keeps people on that path, is when
Right.
they can't escape it, really. You
Yeah,
know?
you're
So
right. You're right. So one of your titles is Director of Strategic Partnerships and Community Engagement for DreamSmart Academy. First, tell us about DreamSmart Academy.
DreamSmart, I love DreamSmart. So DreamSmart Academy is basically an online system that coaches, trains, and mentors young adults, offering amazing programming based around life skills, social emotional learning, the kind of things that aren't always taught in school. And the people who, founders of DreamSmart Academy, I got introduced to, and instantly I fell in love with what they were doing. Being someone who is an educator, worked in schools, being someone who currently teaches personal development for students getting their GEDs right now at colleges, I fell in love with everything that they were doing and what they were doing to give people the life skills and employability skills that they needed to be successful. And so that's what DreamSmart Academy does from an online perspective. But we are also in the process of building a charter school. So to have a brick and mortar environment for students to come and get that same kind of learning in that aspect. So they're based out of California, and I'm in Arizona, and but the charter school wind up being here. So there's a lot to DreamSmart Academy.
Wonderful. And why did they want to put the behavioral superpowers in the curriculum at their at the one that they're building?
Oh gosh, oh my gosh. So it'll be a behaviorally based school. And what that really means is that when it comes to behavioral superpowers, it gauges people's behavior. And at a very young age, as young as 12, a student can understand what their behavioral superpowers are. Like I mentioned, I'm an outgoing, fast-paced influencer. You are an engager. My mother is a fast-paced, take charge, fast-paced influencer, right? I was who I was at 12. Okay, my behaviors haven't changed that much.
Right.
My mother will attest to that, right? And so we know that if I had known this information and it was infused into my life, into my learning style, into my communication style, and these things were cultivated along with education, it's a game changer. It's a game changer for how people are taught to understand who they are, because we know people want to fit in, but they want to be unique at the same time. So we are going to teach children this information, and it becomes part of the ecosystem and the language. Every student will know their behavioral superpower. Every teacher, every admin, everyone will know this information, because we know that once you have an understanding of yourself, you actually have a lot more understanding and appreciation for the differences in others.
Right.
And that is the key. That's the key to social emotional learning. That's the key for learning to deal with things when things aren't going your way. That's the key to learning to understand why your little brother always does this thing that drives you crazy. Well, he's just being himself. He's not doing it to make you mad.
Right.
And that's a longer story, but that's why we know that we can give this information to help students deal with some of the things that they're dealing with at young ages that causes stress, depression, anxiety, suicide. These are things that are real, that are happening in children's lives, and there's an impact that can be made with them having more self-awareness, and that's what we will do.
Yes, and I love that it's called superpowers, because that gives it the name that kids in particular would be probably really happy to.
They love it.
So explain a little bit about how it works. It's an assessment.
Yes.
And it not only works for children, but it works really well for adults as well. So just explain a little bit about the different personalities and the different aspects that it can make you aware of. And it also would help you in your choices in life.
Yes. So when you learn what your behavioral superpower is, you take a discovery exercise, and it's only about 15 minutes. And that discovery exercise is going to ask you some questions. And after you're done, then it's going to let you know you are one of 10 behavioral superpowers. And so like, I'm an influencer, you're an engager. Those are two of them. Okay. But within that, that's your behavioral superpower, but you have behavioral fingerprints, I like to call them.
Okay.
Fingerprints are like, because your hands kind of look like my hands, right? We got 10 fingers, we got nails, they kind of look the same, but your palm prints are different than mine and your fingerprints are different. So even if we both were influencers, we would still have differences. Okay. So those are the differences that give you information about how you make decisions, your financial temperament, your results versus relationships, your propensity for being an ambitious person in business goals and organizational goals versus maybe someone who's more content in those areas, how you want to be communicated with, whether you're abstract, like you and I are very abstract, right? High scores on abstract versus someone like my sister who's much more concrete. Right? So all of that information is given to you based on this 15-minute exercise. And from that, we literally can coach people in all these different areas, from entrepreneurial styles, because we know there's certain things that entrepreneurs, certain areas that have them better suited for handling some of the things that come with being an entrepreneur, versus other things, right? Because I mentioned not everyone should be an entrepreneur, right? Some people just really want to go to work every day and come home.
Thank
So
goodness.
those are things that are behavior based. So some of the differences are, this isn't about strengths and weaknesses.
Right.
There's like 3,000 assessments out there that are all good. Well, I won't say they're all good. I don't know. Most of them are good. And if they're worth their salt, they're giving you good, valuable information, but they're measuring different things than us. We are measuring behavior, and your behavior might not be a strength. It might not be a weakness. It's your behavior.
It's your behavior. Right.
So we teach you to understand that behavior, and then we teach you to have situational awareness so that if your superpowers are exploding, which could be a good thing in the right situation, but it could be kryptonite in the wrong situation.
Right.
And that's what we teach you, so that you know how to manage those things. And then you know who you're dealing with, and with other people, you can recognize those things in them and then melt the barriers to communication.
It's so powerful. And you also said that it really helps the square peg in the round hole.
Square peg, round hole. Yes.
If you take a job and you're doing well at it, but it doesn't resonate with you, or you're not doing well at it, you can go back and reference those and say, well, no wonder I'm not doing well at it. That's not my strong suit. That may be my kryptonite. You know, like for you and I, who are very creative, the strategic end of it for us is more of our kryptonite, in the sense that, you know, that is not where our strengths are, but give us a challenge or something creative to do, and we're all for it, you know. Where somebody who's more linear, like an engineer, would be like, what are you asking me to do? You have to tell me exactly what you want me to do.
Yes.
Right.
Yes. And here's the beautiful part. You said it so right, you know, and again, when I talk about the square peg round hole, because here's the situation. Couldn't you and I, we could take a job doing anything.
Right.
Couldn't. And we could be good at it. Why? Because we're brilliant. Okay. Because we're brilliant, intelligent women. So whatever the job is that we were asked to do, we probably could do it.
Right.
And probably do it well. But would it be best suited for us? Would it put us in our happy place, or would it be that square peg round hole? Because you can put a square peg in a round hole, but how long will it take? How painful and bloody will it be? Right. But that, and so I coach and teach, well, avoid the square peg round hole situation if you can. There's opportunity for growth and learning in that situation.
Right.
But at some point you need to ask yourself, okay, why am I doing this and not hiring someone else? Right. You know what I'm saying? So at some point you need to find the happy place where you're doing what I call walking in your greatness.
Right.
I've learned to walk in my greatness. I know what I'm really good at. And I try to put myself in that situation every chance I get, because that helps me have peace.
Right.
And live my life optimized like I want.
Exactly. And life is too short, like you said.
Absolutely. I got extra, and I'm not squandering it.
Yeah. You need to find something that resonates with you, because that's where the stress comes in, and that's not good. And one other thing that I wanted to highlight is that it's also really an excellent tool for building a team.
Oh my gosh, absolutely.
It's absolutely a fantastic tool for putting a team together. You know, whatever areas that you need someone in, you can have them take or even if you have an existing team. Oh yeah. Find out if actually that individual is in the right place.
Absolutely. You can do that with teams. I've used it in my classroom. You know, imagine a situation where the teacher knows what their superpowers are and the whole classroom does. And I've used it, and it's done what I've never seen happen in a classroom situation, because typically the time that we take to get to know people, which is great doing it without a a tool like this, but man, why not use a tool like this when
Right.
you can just kind of figure things out and like melt those barriers to communication, and people can get together and you can match people up for different exercises. Or if you're building an organization and you need people who do certain things, or you are trying to figure out where this relational friction is coming from, and for coaching or leadership or anything like that in the family, I mean, we use it for family dynamics. That's huge for parents to truly understand who they are, have an understanding of their child. Because how often does a parent try to square peg round hole a kid into something?
All the time.
All the time, right? And so what if you knew this information? Well, maybe you might make different situations. You become a behaviorally smart parent. That's what we call it, right?
Right.
And you would be thinking differently about your child. And a manager or a leader could be thinking differently about the team they're cultivating when they truly understand themselves first. Because again, a lot of things are top down. You surround yourself with people who are just like you, and that might not be a good idea.
No.
You might need some diversity in there. You probably do need some diversity in there, because when there's diversity in there, then everybody wins, and you can not only work within an organization, but the people you're serving are going to be diverse anyway. So create that diversity so that you can serve and help more people.
Right. It's the behavioral diversity. Yes, I love it.
Absolutely.
So one of the things that I wanted to bring forth here was that the development of this powerful tool, I call it an assessment tool, was put together scientifically, and it's been proven. But I want you to unpack that a little bit, because I find that gives it the value. And we also spoke a little bit before about how some people might view these personal development tools. They might be skeptics, and they might not see the value in them. So maybe unpack that, because I know that you have told me that this particular assessment cannot be gamified. And I know it's been years coming to market, but just maybe cover a little bit of that for us.
Sure. Well, the company that designed it, they've been around over 30 years doing this type of work, right? They know that when behaviors are intensified, intensified behaviors basically are caused by things like unmanaged human differences, money attitudes, pressure, emotion, that derails performance. That's where they got into this information, really starting to dissect it. And they know that if they can reveal that behaviors universally, are applicable across cultures, race, sex, education, all that, none of that matters, and they can really go deep, then they can get to the reliable core of who a person is, and that behavior that's starting to be embedded in their amygdala as young as the age of 3. Because that's where a lot of that information comes from. So we call that level 1 behavior. It's naturally wired. And they've done the research for years with millions of people to be able to figure out, okay, well, what is the way that we go about asking the questions to really get to the core of that, right? And that's why the piece of not being able to really gamify it comes in, because, you experienced this when you took it. It's a forced triad of questions where, you've got 3 things and you've got to choose most or least. Well, what happens in that is if you feel like you're all of them, it's pretty difficult to pick which one you feel most or least, because you feel
or neither. That's what,
or neither, right? And so you still have to make a decision, right? But here's what happens is sometimes people try to choose most or least, and they're doing that because they're trying to think about, well, if I choose most on this, what does that say about me? What is my profile going to come out and say if I choose this, right? So they're anxious about that. It causes a little bit of stress. So earlier I mentioned that and behaviors are intensified, with pressure and emotions. And so the test, or exercise kind of does that a little bit. It causes a little bit of stress, a little bit of anxiety, because eventually you've got to hit a button.
Right.
You got to hit the button. Okay.
It won't go forward if you don't.
It won't go forward. So what happens when you wind up hitting the button is it's very likely you trust your instincts. And so that is because who you are comes out instinctually when frustration is happening. And I always say the quote from Mike Tyson when he bit off Evander Holyfield's ear is, he said, what they asked him, why did you do that? And he goes, everyone's got a plan until they get punched in the mouth.
Oh,
that punch in the mouth to me is how I interpret or, analyze that little bit of pressure and anxiety that happens. So right now the whole world's been punched in the mouth, in my opinion. the stress and anxiety levels are high. So people's behavioral superpowers right now are amplified because who they are at their core, that natural behavior, it shows itself more often because only 5% of you is what we call that learned behavior. That learned behavior is your EQ. That's the area where you probably shouldn't bite off somebody's ear.
Right.
But if your level 1 behavior comes out and you ignore what you've been taught about, hey, don't do that, okay,
Right.
you know, then you're in all your powerful glory in that moment, and you're just going to do what you instinctually feel like doing in that moment, right? Situational awareness teaches you not to do that. So how they ask the questions means that you can't go back and take it later and be like, well, I'm going to answer it like this to try to see if I can outcome like this. You can't do that. So that's why it's 91% predictability over long term. And that's unlike many other types of personality assessments, because you can go back and you can pattern the questions in a way where you can try to answer them in a certain kind of way to try to get a certain outcome. And I've done many of them and they're very accurate. But there's no need to take ours over and over again because it doesn't change very much at all. Because again, this is your behavior. This is not about learning to tie your shoes. That's a strength. You're not born knowing how to do that.
Right.
So this isn't about strengths and weaknesses. It's about behavior. So it's a different thing we're gauging. And as far as myths and people's propensity to go, doesn't work or it's not totally true. Okay, here's the thing. Everyone seeks to understand themselves. And these types of tools have value if they're valuable to help you do that. What I've seen with this particular tool has blown my mind, where I instantly jumped on board and realized I wish I'd had it when I was running colleges for 20 years, because I would have used it in every single area, to helping people find jobs when they're done, to team performance management, to, you know, leadership development, to hiring, to coaching, to helping people figure out what school, if they should even come to our school.
Right.
You know, and so it was, and that's why we're building a school around it. Because why don't we give children a Myers-Briggs or a Strength Finders test, right? Why don't we do that? Well, it's because they're not built for them and they're measuring different things.
Right.
But this one works for that application and that's what makes it so unique and different.
I love it. And it is, I remember there was one individual who wanted to take it over and you said, why? The results are going to be the same.
And they were.
So it really is.
They were. And it was designed initially, and I guess I'll leave this last point. It was designed initially to help, to help people understand their money attitudes. Because one of the very few, I think there's only 2 personality tests out there that can tell someone what their financial temperament is. So based on that 15-minute exercise, we have reports that tell you how you think about money, how you think about risk when it comes to money, and financial and wealth advisors use that to help match clients with the right wealth advisor.
Right.
Yes. There's a whole nother component that talks to you about how you think and feel about money, which is why I mentioned I wish I'd had that a long time ago.
Yeah. That could be very touchy, the money thing. Yes, but I could see how it could work beautifully for sure. So it's a very exciting tool. I've taken it myself and I just love it. And I find it so unique because I did not want to answer certain questions because I didn't have an answer that I liked, but you have to answer it. So you
answer it.
Whatever. But yeah, the results were spot on. I mean, at least as I could tell anyway. So speaking of those, tell us about the Behavioral Mastermind series that you've created around this amazing tool. That just sounds like something everybody should delve into.
Oh my gosh, it's so much fun because again, the one thing we know is if you're into personal development and reading books and getting coached and things like that, there's a theme. And the theme is find out what your passions are. Figure out what you're unique at, what makes you different, what makes you tick, what are your talents? Because again, that's part of clarity, right? Now, granted, you might have a certain innate talent, but that doesn't mean you have good habits. You know, you might be good at this, but doesn't mean you do it all the time, right? So there's still, it's not everything, but it's part of it. Because one of the things I found is that I read certain books, like High Performance Habits and, you know, The One Thing and things like that. They all had a theme about, hey, well, figure these things out about yourself because they're going to dictate how you do things, right? You need to understand this, but here's what the books couldn't say. And here's what no one can say as far as I can tell you. They can't tell you what those things are. They all say, go find it, but they can't tell you what it is. So I was like, well, wait a minute. I'm a practitioner of what I teach. So I was doing my own personal development, reading certain books, being in masterminds, learning, teaching, self-coaching myself, and doing quite well at that. And then I was introduced to my behavioral superpower. And then those things dovetailed. And when they dovetailed, I went, oh, that's why that's so difficult for me. That's why I'm always doing this thing and it never quite works. And then other people just tend to figure that out. I could see it on paper. And so then I started approaching my personal development in the way that I'm wired to do it. I know what my powers are and I know what my kryptonite is. So I know which areas I really need to hone, or which things are never going to be much better than they are, right?
And where you have to hire somebody.
Right. And so you can teach an old dog new tricks. People say you can, but you can.
Right.
But why is it important to that dog? Why do they want that? And are they willing to do the work? So through that, I've been able to see, and I've done it multiple times because my mastermind's a 12-week process. So I've seen people come through it 3 or 4 times now, where they understand their behavioral superpower. They're doing the self-development. They're getting coached on their powers throughout it. And every single one of them handles the situation and even the homework exactly like they would based on what their superpowers say. And so they're able to see, here's my talents. Here's the things that I'm wired to do. Here's why I'm more creative versus concrete, and why I don't like the systems that you're building because I'm naturally adverse to them. You know what I mean? Or here's why a friend of mine who's a strategist got into the group and she fell in love with it. And she's very concrete and planned. She comes back with a spreadsheet, everything worked out, all done for 12 weeks. No one was doing that but her, because that's how she is naturally wired.
She's programmed that way.
So for someone like me, I'm like, get that spreadsheet out of here. I don't need to look at that.
Oh my gosh, yeah. I would have a paper and lines going everywhere, colors.
Yeah. Right? So now I'm able to help coach the people in the mastermind through that process, so I can help them understand, why she did it that way, and you're never going to do it that way, and why the way she did it is not right or wrong, and why the way you're doing is not right or wrong. Don't we look at each other and judge?
Right.
We think something's wrong with us.
Right. Exactly.
Nothing's wrong with you. So that's the behavioral mastermind.
I love it. So it's a 12-week program.
It is.
And you start it whenever it rotates, but people can find that information on your site. Right. Okay.
Yeah. We're in one right now. The next one doesn't start till like September. We're in one right now.
Yeah. But it's a great program. And then you build community as well.
Absolutely. And it's business owners typically who are trying to elevate wherever they are. They might've found a place where they're stuck and they're like, oh, what am I doing? And so we kind of strip it down. We start with that desire. We start with the clarity. We start with all of that, and we work through it and use resources and books as part of the materials and things like that, to where we can, just really learn together, because it's one thing to read a book, it's a different thing to do what the book says.
Yes.
So it's a lot of that happening.
Interpretation. That's the conundrum or not of the book report. It's like you could read it, but did you really understand it?
Yeah. How many books have you read that are still on the shelf and you're like, oh, I read that, and you have no idea.
Exactly. Exactly.
We don't do that. We do the hard work. We go through the book.
And it's an interactive, right? It's Zoom.
Oh, yeah, on Zoom. Yeah, we meet on Zoom.
Because sometimes these courses are just programmed, but you actually get on there and you're there. So you're
live coaching. And here's the thing: I'm a teacher, so there's always homework.
Right.
And usually a fair amount of it.
That's good. That's good. Okay. No, that's important to know, because there's so many different courses these days, and sometimes you buy it and it's just all pre-recorded, but this is really interactive. So everyone gets to meet Kenyatta, everyone gets to interact. You all get to know all the students.
Yes.
So it's really, I love it because it builds community, and then you also get to understand other people's journeys or other people's behavioral superpowers.
Yes, because that helps you understand yours.
Exactly.
So when you see the differences between that strategist, and you might be a reflective thinker and you're like totally doing things differently, you have a better understanding for your own when you see how they're executing their superpower. How are they unleashing theirs? So so it's very interactive, lots of conversation. And then of course the beauty of the mastermind, none of us is as smart as all of us. So we come together and we help each other, lift each other up, and go through this wild and crazy journey together.
I love it. I love it. So are there other programs that you've designed around behavioral superpowers?
Yes, there are. Actually, that's the first step in any of my coaching programs. Quite honestly, Yeah, step one, you need to know what your discover your behavioral superpower.
Right.
And then you can go in any random, whether it be career development, entrepreneurial training, workforce development, whatever. But there's other programs, other masterminds that I'm building that I have one, and I can't tell you yet, but it's going to be specifically for women only.
Wow.
Guys are cool, but it's going to be a female-based group, and very excited about that. And it's going to go even deeper, and that's going to be coming very soon. So
will you give us an announcement so we can put it out there to the community?
Absolutely.
Have it ready to go?
Absolutely, I will. And then I have a little freebie thing that if you wind up signing up for it, then I'll make sure I email you the updates when it comes out too.
Yeah, I was going to get to that right now. I said, you have a really generous offer. And so tell our audience about it, just briefly.
Absolutely. So fairly simple. Now, if you go to, it's going to be www.freedomempireconsulting.com/freebie. So here's what I'm going to give for everyone who's watching this. I've been talking a lot about behavioral superpowers, and if you don't know what your superpower is, then you're probably wondering what it is. But there's some things that you can do to unleash your behavioral superpowers, even if you don't know exactly what your profile is. Mm-hmm. And so if you go to that site and you give me the email, then I'm going to send you what I call is the top 10 super secret hacks to unleashing your behavioral superpower.
Okay.
So you'll be able to have access to that. So you can really start thinking about how to unleash these behavioral superpowers, even if you don't know exactly what your profile is. However, I'm going to give away 5 what I call uncovering sessions. So I'm going to basically raffle, if you do decide that you want the 10 super secret hacks to behavioral superpowers, unleashing them, then I'm going to give away 5 uncovering sessions. And what that means is you're basically going to be able to get a link so you can take that discovery exercise that we spoke about, and you'll get your report, but then you'll get 30 minutes with me, and I will do what I call an uncovering session. That's basically a coaching session with the information. Now that you have the report, just like, Jane got hers, where I sit down with you and I explain to you how it really works and what it means and how to start unleashing that now that you have the actual, quantitative and qualitative data along with it. So that is my gift to all of you.
That is fantastic. Oh my gosh, everybody take advantage of that. We will also have that link at the bottom of your bio. So, if you didn't catch it, don't worry. We're going to put the link for the offer. And then, like she said, I guess you'll just do a raffle or whatever and take the 5.
Yep. I'm going to draw five names.
Right. Yep. No, that's really generous. Wow. And I have to tell you, the uncovering session is really thorough and really valuable, because it not just tells you your superpowers, but it also shows you where you might need help, or where what we call the kryptonite is. So areas that you're weaker in, it doesn't mean it's a bad thing. It just means that those aren't your strengths.
Yeah, those aren't your strengths. Yeah. Or what the kryptonite, here's another way I describe it. I like to use the analogy Hulk smash. What? Right? Hopefully if you're listening, you know who the Incredible Hulk is.
Oh, Hulk. Okay.
Hulk. And what does Hulk do? He smashes, right? He turns green, he gets big, and he smashes whatever in his sight. Now, Hulk is really good at that. And if he's on your team, that's why they send him in. Hulk, smash, right? You call him for the job. And that's his superpower. I look at it like that. That's his superpower. But a power overplayed becomes a struggle. And a struggle unmanaged becomes a weakness. So for Hulk, his power is becoming the Hulk and smashing what needs to be smashed. Right. His kryptonite, in my opinion, is when he cannot return back to Bruce Banner. He can't make himself do it. And that's a struggle. And now a weakness, because when you need him to stop smashing, he can't. Right. That's not good. That's no longer a power. Okay. Right. That's a liability. Right. So, but also his challenge can be when he needs to turn into Hulk and he can't. You're right. And that's a problem. If I need him to go in and smash and he's like, I can't turn into Hulk. Well, that's a problem. Yeah. So that's what we talk about in this behavioral superpower universe, is teach people what their powers are. Show them where the kryptonites might be, because sometimes you need to have the awareness to go, wait a minute, I'm not in control right now. Right. And the thing about me being very outgoing and the influencer I am, there's times where I might need to pull it back because it doesn't serve me and what I'm trying to accomplish in that moment. Right. And so that's what it's about. And that's what we talk about in the uncovering session, is really, let's show you what your behaviors are, but let's talk about the areas where it might be a hard swing for you to swing to one side or the other, and what you might have to do if there's not that balance that exists. Because a lot of us don't have the balance. You know, you and I are very creative off the charts.
Right.
There's concrete bones in our body, right?
Yeah, we have to reel that in, though. You're right.
Exactly.
Because we could just go off into creative land and be there for months.
Yes.
And nothing else is happening. You know, and we're perfectly happy.
We're great, but nothing's getting done.
Exactly. Yeah, so it's
Right.
really a valuable tool. I recommend it to everybody and anybody, all ages as well. So,
Absolutely.
you know, even if you've got tweenies or, you know, teenagers or kids at home, you know, get them on there.
Yes,
you know,
yes. Families. We love working with families right now. We've
yes.
got challenges, things coming out for dads, specifically for mom. I mean, it does, if there's more than two people involved, it's a good tool. And even if it's just you, it's a good tool because
Right.
you can self-coach.
Yeah.
And this information, again, it comes with self-awareness. Everyone knows that. We just have a way to teach you what that is. And that's really what it's about. Understanding yourself so that you can better understand others and just help the world become a better place. When you have that peace of mind and that self-awareness, then you really can look deep.
Yes.
And be truthful and honest with yourself,
Mm-hmm.
and not take it personal when someone's different than you.
Exactly. Yeah.
You can
Yeah.
appreciate the differences in people when you truly have an understanding of yourself. So
Right. Yes. It's worth every penny, or just get it for free.
hey,
You're one of the lucky five.
people get it for free. That's right. Everybody else is
You're
paying.
one of the lucky five.
Yes.
So tell us something, Kenyatta, that's not on your resume.
Not on my resume. First off, I don't even have a resume, but
Your bio.
it's not on it. Oh gosh. Oh my gosh, because there's even, I'm thinking of hobbies and things like that for fun. I think there are a couple of them on there that are, oh my God, what? It is not on there. It seemed like it had everything. Oh, I used to build hot rods.
You did?
Yeah.
Really? Oh my
Yeah.
gosh. That's
Yeah. I used to, I can work on cars. I can take cars apart, put them back together. I can build engines. I'm a snowboarder. I love to snowboard and skateboard. Those are things that are probably not on there.
No, not on there at all. Wow, that's interesting because that takes a bit of an engineering mind, but yet I could see the creativity in it too.
Well, I have a computer information systems degree.
Yes.
And I got straight A's, but here's the thing. I never worked in the field. Why? Because it would bore me to death.
Oh gosh, yeah.
I just wanted to know how to do it. I think.
Well, then there you go. That's the same with the hot rod. You just want to know how to do it.
Yeah, I don't want to do that for a job.
Yeah. That's really interesting.
Yeah.
One day you'll build one for yourself.
And I used to have them. I still have one now that's in the shop getting built because I don't want to do actually the work. But I love old cars. I love fast cars. I love big engines. I love that smell of grease and oil. And I love the rumble of a good car.
Yeah. Oh, well, then who knows? Maybe that's second career.
Hey, I'll probably have someone else.
Hobby.
Hobby.
So I have 4 final questions
Oh,
that hopefully are a little fun for you.
okay.
So because we're here at the Epic Vision Zone, if your life were an epic story, what would the title be?
If my life were an epic story, what would the title be? The first thing that came to my mind was Rocket, Don't Stop It.
Oh, I love that. That's great.
Hashtag Rocket, Don't Stop It.
Perfect. What name would you give your character in your epic story?
Stella Monaco.
Wow. Okay, we've got what or how would you characterize your epic life?
How would I characterize my epic life? You said it earlier, freedom for fulfillment.
Okay.
Or something you said like that. I like that. Freedom to fulfillment, or
Yes.
Yeah.
That's perfect.
Freedom, or freedom for short.
Freedom.
That's it.
All you need is freedom.
That's it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just let the mind.
Yeah.
freedom.
One more. So if you had one epic superpower, speaking of superpowers, what would it be and why?
Well, I do have an epic superpower. And literally it is truly the influencer. It is. And that is an influencer, like social media influencer. I say that word and people are like, oh, she's a social media influencer, because that's a new word for it. But an influencer is someone who can inspire people, you know, to do things. And I use it for good. You know, I have a way of being able to, oh, I have to think my eye. I have a way, I have a passion for helping people grow and improve.
Right.
And my behavioral superpower, I've always been that way. When I would hire people at my jobs when I was younger, that would sit in front of me and I would say, my job is to develop you personally and professionally. And you might just be working in the coffee shop at my college. And I would say that to people. And I would get crazy looks from them because they would be like, I'm just working in the coffee shop. And I'd be like, no, 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 no. You are in my world. In my world, I want you to become all that you can be. And that means you're not just working in my coffee shop.
Right.
You're here to grow and learn and develop.
Yeah.
And so that is influence in a way that I feel like that is truly my power is I care about the growth and development of other people.
Right.
And I'm not afraid to step forward and offer my assistance. Right. And because I'm someone who's very vocal, very outgoing, put me in front of the room, I'm good. You know, I have a gift of that, I believe, a gift of, right, of speaking, coaching, training, teaching. I've always done it, either unofficially or now much more officially. And that is how Freedom Empire was built. When I realized, wait a minute, you've already been doing this. Why don't you help more people and amplify what you're already just so wired to do? So that is my superpower. It's to be able to do that. It comes very natural to me. And I walk in that.
I love it. And yes, because your passion is to show people what their greatest possibilities are.
Yes, all they're capable of, and take the blinders off of that.
Exactly.
And I seem to have a gift for being able to do it. So I'm going to keep doing it.
And it's in your heart, I can tell.
It is.
It's totally your heart. So thank you so much, Kenyatta, for coming on the show and sharing your knowledge and superpowers with us, plus opening the door for all of us to discover our personal superpowers that will set us on the right track to turning our passions into profits. And now, Kenyatta and I would love to hear from you. So go on over to my Facebook page and write a comment. Tell us what your greatest takeaway was from this conversation. And remember, this is where you imagine, create, and build a business doing what you love. Until next time, I'm Jane Applegath, and this is the Epic Vision Zone.
Yay! Bye, everybody.